Hey there friends, Kevin here from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be taking a look at 10 winners in rock and metal from the year 2020. Before we get started, please follow MSOTD Rocks on places like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you'll get the 30-second song of the day feature on all three of those platforms to expand your musical horizons from the heavy hitters in the scene along with the emerging bands as well. You will also find out anytime anything gets released on any of our platforms on those as well as connecting with us through comments and direct messages. On Instagram as well, we do our IGT videos, which come out every single Tuesday night, and it's a behind the scenes look at what's happening here with our thoughts, ideas, and anything in between. And you can also join us live on Instagram at 9 p.m. Central every single Wednesday night for about an hour, where it's a freeform style. You come talk to us and it just gets wild every single time. Please also subscribe to this YouTube channel, because not only are you going to get this video along with the 2020 year-end awards, which are just about to start, you also get other videos detailing the top emerging bands in the scene today, album reviews, the Kevin Figures Out series, which is me figuring out if I like certain bands or not that I'm not that well versed in, top 10 lists, whatever it might be. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to get all those videos, usually coming out every single Wednesday. And this is also where the Chord Progression podcast lives, as it is our very own podcast where we talk with all the emerging bands in the scene today in a free form, whatever happens kind of style that I found bands are absolutely loving, and these podcast episodes are getting absolutely insane. This year we have interviewed bands such as Throw the Fight, Kill the Lights, SAUL, Blacktop Mojo, No Resolve, Raw, The Dev. I mean, you name it, we've done it, and we're getting even more on. So please make sure you are subscribed here on YouTube for the videos of those podcasts, or if you want to listen just to the audio streams, you can listen on Spotify, for Podcasts, Google Play, and iHeart Radio. Links in the description below for everything, so like, share, subscribe, whatever it might be, and let's get on to it. Normally, I always do a year-end review, kind of talking about the year of music that was, but I'm not doing that this year because with everything that happened with the coronavirus pandemic, with everything going on in politics, and with social justice, especially here in America, there is so much to talk about. I could create a 2 to 3 hour video that I just don't think you guys are really interested in watching, so I'm not going to do that. I was going to do a winners and losers list in 2020, but then I decided not to do the losers list because, let's be frank, with the coronavirus pandemic, we all lost because live music got put to a halt, and we all missed those positive family vibes with our whole entire music community that we get from that. So I didn't want to put a specific loser list out there because, I mean, honestly, we all lost this year at some point. So no point in bringing it back up again. But I want to detail 10 winners in rock and metal, but they're not going to just be people. They could be people, they could be musicians, they could be a group of people, they could be a band, they could be a genre, they could be an internet personality, they could be whatever it might be. But I've got 10 big ones, not 5, 10 big ones for you to look at. So who won in 2020? These are in no particular order except for maybe how I grouped them. So it's not best to worst or worst to best. They're just 10 names, 10 groups, 10 whatever it is on the list. Well, let's go to section 1. The first section I'm looking at is something that really took off in 2020 with all of the shutdown, which is streaming. There are many musicians that end up on platforms like Twitch to stream either their music or them gaming or whatever it might have been. And we saw a good number of people jump on this, such as Herman Lee from Dragon Force, Craig Mavett from Escape the Fate, Telly from The Word Alive, and even Ryan from Fit for a King. But one or two people really stood out on this, and the first one I'm talking about is Matt Heafy, the frontman and guitarist for Trivium. Heafy's been on the platform for a number of months now, even before the pandemic, and when the pandemic hit, he was doing a lot of things on the platform, such as playing songs from Trivium so people are able to get Trivium from him directly, playing cover songs such as Ice Nine Kills Stabbing in the Dark on acoustic, which, I mean, yeah, that's really how I found out about Heafy on there. Also playing video games as well, and just doing whatever it might have been. Even with What the Dead Men Say coming out in 2020, Heafy did a number of things on that platform as well, where he streamed himself playing the whole album, and even did a whole concert of them playing the album as well in July. So fans are able to get that live show performance and really connect with Heafy and listen to live music in a sense over their computers through Twitch and through Matt Heafy. Heck, even on Drew Barrymore's new talk show this year, Matt Heafy appeared in his Twitch streaming room to gift a huge Trivium fan, who I believe was either a FedEx driver or UPS driver, one of their guitars, because the guy's making deliveries out during the pandemic. He's working hard, putting himself out there to make sure that we all get what we need, and honestly, the guy deserves it. So why did Matt Heafy win this? It's because Trivium was consistently in the minds of fans, and Matt Heafy kept that going and creating a rather fun and immersive musical style stream. As of the making of this video, he has 187,000 followers on Twitch. I do not have his subscriber count, unfortunately, but Matt Heafy is one of the biggest players on Twitch when it comes to rock and metal, so he got an absolute win here. Plus, with What the Dead Men Say being one of the best albums of 2020, yeah, he definitely did well on this. And if I'm going to talk about winners in 2020 that were streaming on Twitch, including Matt Heafy, I have to talk about Ronnie Radke as well, who absolutely killed it on Twitch this year. Taking a look at how he started out on Twitch, reacting to people reacting to the Popular Monster song and video, that really got a lot of people interested, not only in Popular Monster, but also in Ronnie Radke and Falling in Reverse as well, because he was reacting to these reactors, and these reactors were uploading those reactions to their channels on YouTube, and that got so many more people interested in, because they were actually getting to see what the lead singer and the writer of that song was reacting to, their reactions. It was something that just grew exponentially. As the pandemic hit, Ronnie really did a number of things as well in order to continue to grow his influence on Twitch. And it was things such as continue to react to people's reaction videos, streaming with other people in the genre and other people around the world, such as Paige from WWD, aka his girlfriend. It's people like Telly from The Word Alive, Craig Mabbitt, even Robert Ortiz, Herman Lee, Danny Warsnop. So he's consistently collaborating with a lot of these different artists as well, also within the same genre as him, or same kind of genre as him, because, you know, Falling in Reverse, they don't really have a genre. Their genre is basically Ronnie Radke. But with doing all these different things, and not only that, but just sitting down sometimes and just talking with the fans and just consistently reacting and talking to people through the chat, holy crap, you're getting this connection there and this built up lore from Ronnie Radke, where he's telling personal stories, where he's telling things that happen, he's setting the record straight on a lot of these, and consistently being himself throughout the whole entire thing. This not only has helped grow Falling in Reverse, but has helped continue to grow himself as a person and as a personality. As of making this video, he had 113,000 followers on Twitch and around 19,000 paid subscribers, which was number 21 on the all-time list at the moment. However, I have seen him peak up in the top 10 of subscribers. I think he might have been at number 2 at one point. I remember seeing him at 7 at one point, but he is consistently up there. And why he's such a big winner in this is because that connection with the fans cannot be overstated. The fact that he's consistently growing this lore around him and consistently connecting with the fans is just creating this unstoppable force that when 2021 hits, when more Falling in Reverse singles come out, this is going to be a thing that Ronnie Radke has built up and is going to be an absolute force to deal with come 2021. Speaking of Ronnie Radke reacting to many YouTube reactors reacting to Popular Monster, there have been many more reactors on YouTube coming out reacting to rock and metal, and this has become a huge thing. Take a look at people like Alex Hefner, Guy Gibby, Nick Nocturnal. They've been out for a while now, but those guys really had a good charge and started a lot of this with the rock and metal side. But the big winner in 2020 is the newcomers with Granny Hayes and Anna King of the Two Rockin' Grannies. They absolutely killed it on this front, where you have two older women in their 60s and 70s reacting to modern rock and metal and just seeing what happens. And holy crap, are these women hilarious to watch. You get their genuine reaction, their genuine shock, everything, and they're so positive about the whole entire thing. They're absolutely so much fun to watch, and they blew up because of the reaction of Popular Monster and Ronnie Radke reacting to it. So many people began to flood the Two Rockin' Grannies YouTube channel. And Ronnie even continued to react to The Drug in Me is Reimagined reaction and the trilogy of Lose My Life, Lose My Mind, and Drugs. And this really generated a lot of publicity for the Grannies, to the point where they were reacting to people's music that, I mean, watch the reactions, they're hilarious, such as Pisces by Ginger, Poppy Out by Baby Metal, and CMFT Must Be Top by Corey Taylor. And when they see Ronnie, they're like, oh my god, Ronnie, it's a boy! So they have that connection there, and that really did help. It's so much fun watching these ladies, and you're getting this genuine reaction from an older generation, really getting into the music that we love today. So it is incredible to watch, and I absolutely think they're big winners in this. As of the making video, they had 121,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm one of them, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future with these grannies, because they're freaking hilarious. Now time to talk about the bands that really won 2020, and there are two that really stand out in my mind. The first is From Ashes to New. Before the pandemic started, they were slated to go on tour with Hollywood Undead, Bad Wolves, and Fire from the Gods and be the opener on that tour. I had a ticket for it. Damn you, COVID. But once the pandemic hit, they completely did a 180, and what they did absolutely grew them as a band in terms of overall fan base and notoriety. One of the first things they did was they started doing covers of popular songs in rock and roll that people were really enjoying, such as Tears Will Fall for Both For My Valentine, and the one that stands out to me most is when they covered Gravity by Papa Roach, and they even brought in Jen Leather from Skill to cover Maria Brink's vocals. That alone really brought the band a lot of positive press, and their parody of Waking Up in September Ends by Green Day called Wake Me Up When 2020 Ends was one of my favorite things to come out of, especially early in the pandemic, where you had the guys really just trying to figure out what the heck was going on, just kind of all in this more depressive state. Seeing Danny Case going into Walmart buying a bunch of TP, wearing one of those gigantic dinosaur costumes was one of the funniest things I've seen. Then in April, right about the middle of April, they released their first single off of their new album Panic, which came out in August, called Panic. Initially, the song was supposed to be about general anxiety, but they did a complete 180 and drove headfirst into the pandemic and really made the song all about the pandemic. And when people listened to it, they already had this feeling of what was going on with those covers, but oh my god, no one was expecting what happened with Panic, where for myself, I got this feeling of From Ashes to New really bringing back that vibe that Linkin Park had on Hybrid Theory and Meteora, and we hadn't heard anything like that since. Even Danny's vocals, his screams reminded me of Chester Bennington, and I haven't heard that since Chester's passing in 2017. There were so many people that were so heavily in on this song that not only with their increased notoriety from those covers and those parodies, but this was something that really propelled From Ashes to New into the top level of notoriety for 2020. When Panic came out, it was received with mixed reviews, the album that is, in August of 2020. I was half and half on it, but there is no doubt that From Ashes to New really entered the minds of a lot of rock and metal fans, and when 2021 comes around, they could very well not just be opening on those big tours, they could be headlining those big tours. So we'll see what happens, but From Ashes to New definitely won this year. The other band that really won in 2020 in terms of an established band is Bring Me the Horizon. Following 2019 with the release of Amo and their experimental songs to whatever album, a lot of people are writing off the band as going much more pop, much more electronic, and kind of just veering away from a lot of what they originally had in terms of their core sound. I was not a big fan of Amo at all, and I really didn't care for the songs too, because I thought this is just something that's experimental. Definitely listen to it if you're high, but otherwise not for me. So I was starting to really write them off. However, they did come out with Ludens at the end of 2019. I thought this would have been a perfect thing to put on Amo as kind of that, electronic experimentation they're really going there, but with a harder vibe. In June of 2020, the band came out with Parasite Eve, and many people are really happy with it because when you listen to the chorus, a lot of people were reminded of Can You Feel My Heart, and it fit them perfectly with the time, so a lot of people were really big into it. In September, Youngblood was featured on one of their tracks called Obey, and I was skeptical at first because I didn't really know much of Youngblood's music. I knew something with a Gen Z kind of thing, so I'm like, oh boy, we'll see how this goes. Had to keep an open mind though. I listened to the track and it was absolutely incredible, where they brought some electronic style instrumentation that really played off well with Youngblood's verses, but they kept it hard, they kept it faster paced, and they kept it more raw and visceral in terms of more of a rock and metalcore sense. So it really did work out well, and it brought a lot of people into Bring Me the Horizon's music that really like Youngblood, because now you got that connection there. Then Post-Human Survival Horror was announced, and Teardrops, the fourth single, was released, and many people were applauding Teardrops because it reminded them a lot of Linkin Park's Meteora, and it really created that vibe overall, and people were ecstatic for Post-Human Survival Horror to come out in October, and when it did not disappoint. I mean, take a look at each song. I talked about Form already. You look at Dear Diary, where it's heavy, it's hard. It's go back to that more faster paced metalcore style. Listen to a song like One by One, where you're gonna get something a lot more like Meteora. Once again, it just really brings out that deeper, darker vibe to it as well. And the Nova Twins on it was perfect. One Day, I can't remember how the song ends because it's a long title. It's one that features Amy Lee though. I wasn't the biggest fan of it on the album though, but it fits in perfectly as a single because it's calm, more soothing style, and it's more elongated, melodic, just clean style with Amy Lee and Ollie Sykes bouncing off each other. Really does work out well. Then you have Itch for a Cure, which leads perfectly into Kingslayer, which Holy crap, this was one I was excited for, to see how Bring the Horizon and Baymel were going to come together, and this was one of the best songs of the year. You had the J-pop style and Sue Metal's vocals really working well with a faster pace out, and you saw Ali using the whole range of his vocals, even with the deathcore screams. So many people were happy with this. Take a look at Nick Nocturnal's reaction when he first heard it. Just, it was absolutely hilarious. And this EP, album, whatever you want to call it, was universally praised, and it deserved it. One of the best of the year. Now on to the third section, which are the newcomers and returners in 2020. So I'm talking about bands or groups or anything that happened where either bands debuted in 2020 or returned in 2020. I'm going to start with the debuts, and SAUL is the absolute winner here. The Iowa-based band really took charge with their album Rise Equals that came out in October. In 2019, they released the single Brother, which brothers Blake and Zach Bedsall really were dealing with the death of one of their other brothers and trying to talk about it, and the song really came out incredibly well with a lot of dynamic drumming. I have to applaud that as well. In 2020, they released the single King of Misery, which talks about the death of their mom and how their dad struggled through that and went everything through that. And it was also co-written with Disturbed frontman David Draymond, who absolutely applauded SAUL for this song and absolutely loved it, and really worked to amp them up leading into the release of Rise Equals on October 23rd. As of the release, King of Misery was consistently in the top playthroughs on SiriusXM Octane, and when it was released, that is Rise Equals, it was one of the best albums of the year. It was dynamic in the terms of this hard rock, alt metal sense, but it didn't stay within that. It was very dynamic throughout, where they ventured into some metalcore, ventured into some more melodic rock styles, ventured some acoustic styles. They ventured all over the place, but it was done so well that this easily was one of the best albums of 2020. One of the best debuts I've seen since Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, and when 2021 comes around, it would be a shame if no band wanted to pick up SAUL as an opener. I mean, this band is going places. This album is incredible. Someone has to do it. So SAUL got the big win here. One band that did return in 2020 was the band Ra. They were popular in the 2000s, and I did enjoy their sound, but they took a hiatus of over a decade while the guys were doing different projects, and Sahaj, their frontman, was producing more music. Then, in October 2020, was the release of the single Intercorrupted, which announced Ra's return over a decade since their last release. And listening to it, I really did like it. It appeared a lot on Octane, and there was a lot of positivity behind it because it wasn't talking about the moments that happened or the events that happened in 2020, but the mindset of people and how it was affecting how these events were seen in 2020. I absolutely love the idea of the song, and I got to talk to Sahaj on the Chord Progression podcast, and I'm even more excited for 2021 to come around when they release their next album, due to the fact that it explores so much more in that, and they take a lot of different chances as well. So I'm really excited to see what they have happen here, but the return of Ra seems like it's going to be absolutely paramount in terms of just keeping this genre growing. So Ra's return, big win. But Ra returning was not the biggest return in 2020. Many people were asking for this, and it's not the same level as MCR returning in 2019, but it is very close. And I'm not putting System of a Down here because System of a Down had been touring in 2019. They only put out 2 songs in 2020 out of nowhere, which is pretty cool, but their return didn't really blast through the zeitgeist as the return of Attack Attack did. Yes, Crabcore Legends Attack Attack announced their return later on in 2020, and people were going absolutely crazy, constantly asking if vocalist Caleb Schummel from Beartooth was coming back to the band. He did offer his support, however, he said that he was not going to be a part of it. But he's got Beartooth, and they're pretty freaking awesome, so yeah, he's making the right call there. So what's going to happen with Attack Attack? Well, both Andrews, Andrew Whitney and Andrew Wetzel, are returning to the band, and Chris Parketney, who is the vocalist for Nine Shrines, which is also featuring Andrew Wetzel on that, is going to be the vocalist for Attack Attack. And many people breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this too, because a lot of people thought that Franz from Attila was going to be there, and everyone's like, no. But what does this mean in terms of a win? Because Attack Attack is back. Many people have been asking for this for years, and we're getting a band that really came back and really set the tone for the early 2010s and late 2010s in terms of overall metalcore style to come back, and we can't wait to see what's going to end up bringing it back. Plus, a lot of people saw this as a highlight of 2020, brought a lot of positivity to it, so I am definitely a fan of this. Oh yeah, Crabcore wins. Now section 4 is I have to encompass an overall genre that won in 2020, and no genre won bigger than metalcore in my opinion. When you take a look at what metalcore was able to do in 2020 following with what they did in 2019, 2020 really took the genre and leapt it forward even further with so many bands coming out with incredible albums. Yes, in the beginning of the year, we got some metalcore albums from some metalcore bands or former metalcore bands that really didn't stick out very well, in my opinion, such as The Word Alive and Amity Affliction, but those were the outliers in terms of the overall metalcore greatness that came out. We had albums from bands like Polaris, Code Orange, August Burns Red, Make Them Suffer, Bury Tomorrow, Lamb of God. We had bands like Fit for a King. We had the return of the Ghost Inside, which was absolutely awesome. We had Bring Me the Horizon coming out with Post-Human Survival, or we had like Moss to Flames with No Turning Gold, aka Year of the Moth as well. And what ended up happening was a lot of these albums were incredibly good. They were incredibly powerful, and they brought so much more to the table that they really brought metalcore back to the forefront in 2020, in my opinion. And pop culture is in the forefront as it once was. No, it isn't necessarily there. Bring Me the Horizons, though, is definitely going to do a good number, and I'm going to get to that in the next section. But what metalcore did was they brought a lot of the vigor, they brought a lot of the anger, they brought a lot of the emotion that a lot of us were feeling in 2020 and really put it into their music. And it came out incredibly well. Plus, there was a good amount of mixture in there that really stood out to me. And my God, metalcore just won this one. I don't think they're going to be able to replicate what happened in 2020 and 2021. But we do have some bands in metalcore that really could do something in 2021 to try and match us, like Ice Nine Kills. Beartooth could come out with something as well easily. I know they're done with their next LP, so it's coming out in 2021. Motionless in White might be working on something, so we're going to get potentially something big here as well. We'll just wait and see. But 2020 for metalcore, ooh, the state of it is good. In terms of quality, at least. So now time for the last section. This one's a special one because it all revolves around MGK's Ticket to My Downfall album, him going with a pop punk album, and how he won along with the rest of pop culture in terms of rock and metal. So with MGK's release of Ticket to My Downfall, many people were skeptical on this because some of the elitists didn't want a pop artist or a rapper to come out with something that was more rock oriented, and some people were really excited for it. Me, I was on the fence. I just didn't know how it was going to turn out. When it came out, I was split half and half on it, where I really liked the musicianship that was really influenced a lot by Travis Barker, who was on this, and also the lyrics that were written on here. I wasn't the biggest fan of MGK's vocals personally because I just didn't think that he really hit some of those notes with a lot of vigor, a lot of those high notes that he couldn't really hit, but I'm not going to bash him for that entirely. Again, that's my opinion. But why did MGK win, and why did rock and metal win in terms of pop culture? Because MGK's album is getting the Gen Z kids back into the genre. You can even take a look at some of the artists that are really popular right now in pop culture. Doja Cat did something at an award show towards the end of the year where she did a whole entire metal style thing. Halsey said she wants to do a pop punk album now based on her feature on Forget Me Too, which made people just absolutely lose their minds because they loved how her voice sounded. Youngblood being on that Bring the Horizon track, Obey, brought more people into what he wanted to do, and he wants to do more of that stuff as well. Even Miley Cyrus wants to do a rock album and covered Zombie by the Cranberries as well. But why is this such a big win? It's because, again, the Gen Z kids are having the people that they're listening to in pop music really starting to foray back into rock and metal. And why this is good is because while it's something that, personally a lot of people aren't going to necessarily like in terms of the rock and metal elitists, but what it's going to end up doing is it's going to end up getting these kids interested in what these pop artists are going to do with more of a rock, pop, punk, metal style kind of thing. But what it's going to end up doing then is going to end up letting them branch out and checking out more things. Take a look at MGK. The kids are like that are going to start checking out stuff from Blink-182. People that like Halsey, if she comes out with a pop punk album, they're going to check out stuff like Paramore. Youngblood, they're going to check out Bring Me the Horizon just based off of Obey. Take a look at something like Miley Cyrus. They're going to start checking out some more rock and metal stuff as well. And just from that, it's just the exposure. Then they're going to start getting into some of the more stuff. They're going to start liking this stuff. They're going to start playing this stuff. They're going to start forming bands that do this stuff. They're going to start putting it on TikTok. They're going to start doing everything in terms of social media for rock and metal. And it's just going to grow the genre into what we need. It's going to make it popular once again. And it's a huge win that MGK did something like this, and it was as successful as it was. In 2021, we'll see how this all plays out, but you cannot tell me that this wasn't a huge win for rock and metal. This was probably the biggest thing to happen this year. Not Bring Me the Horizon, not all the Twitch streamers, not From Ashes to New. not the emerging band, not metalcore, not crapcore, not any of that. This was the most important thing, due to the fact that the younger generation now has a gateway back into rock and metal. That was a win. We'll see how it turns out in 2021, but I am very optimistic. That's me for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. Who do you think were the winners in 2020? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Put it in the comments below. I'm Kevin from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel. Stay tuned next week as the year-end awards start rolling out. We're going to end it with a hat flip. Hey, yo!